2 weeks ago, Sitecore Symposium happened in Orlando. It's back at the Swan and Dolphin, everyone's favorite hotels. I think everyone's going to be very sad that it's going somewhere else.
Yeah.
In 2020 because I know. I'm going to miss the worn carpet in the hallway. That's going to be super sad. But anyway, that happened. The very basics of it. Why is there a big line there? It was at the Swan and Dolphin, November 5th through 7th. According to Sitecore's Chief Marketing Officer, is that page's title?
Yeah, I think so.
That there were 10,000 people there, which was really, that's what she said. I don't know.
Wow. Is that bigger than last year?
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
That's like 3 times bigger.
I'm not gonna argue with her. She was,
Is she calling the people in the park?
yeah, I think she was like, within like a quarter mile of me, assuming everyone in Epcot at the World Showcase was like, yeah, they're in line for, but if they were in the far end of the thing, they weren't actually counted. So like if you were in the Mexico Pavilion, no luck. But if you're waiting for the O Canada thing in Canada, you're gonna go. So
where did you hear that? Was it like, is there like a official sighting of this, or?
she said it during one of the keynotes.
Oh,
I think.
okay.
Yeah, she was like surrounded by 10,000 people, and I'm like,
Oh, I see. Okay.
But that sets. I feel like that adequately sets the tone for the rest of my presentation. The factuality and truthiness of it.
So it's just mostly sarcasm.
So let's talk about the big news out of Symposium. So one of the big announcements was that Sitecore is going to be launching a SaaS platform. As opposed to their current cloud thing, which is a managed services situation, that the SaaS offering is going to be very different and truly like sign up and now you have Sitecore, which should be pretty cool. I worked with products like that in the past. It's a little different getting used to dealing with it, but I like the idea of not having to spend 3 days getting every developer up to speed on getting a dev site working on their machine. So that'll be exciting. There's a likelihood that it's not going to be based on the existing Sitecore code base. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to say that today or not.
You just did.
Yeah, so don't snitch. You didn't hear from me. But my guess, and this is all conjecture, is that they're going to leverage a lot of the stuff that they've learned from Content Hub to do that. And I think that was one of this is just, again, my guessing, my read on the situation, that one of the big reasons why they bought a SaaS-based company for that was to soak up that knowledge and internalize that knowledge themselves and how to architect the kind of the next generation of their platform. I'm actually kind of excited about that because I think anyone who's been here more than one of these sessions has heard me complain about how complicated the whole thing has gotten and how how insane things become. And I'm hoping that they're going to take this as an opportunity to simplify what their offering is, to simplify all the stuff that it does, to kind of reboot that chasing all of the edge cases thing that software tends to do. One of the things I've also seen is that it will use ASP.NET Core or JavaScript for its presentation layer. That's not it will use one of these or the other one. It's that you're going to be able to use one or the other one. And also excitingly, kind of no more upgrades. It means that, with a SaaS platform, things are always going to be up to date. The good news is that it means that we're not going to have to do those total pain in the butt upgrades. The bad news is that we're not going to be able to write SOWs for upgrade projects anymore. So we'll have to figure out something new to do.
The funnest ones to write.
Oh my God, of course. Everyone loves them. Every client I've ever worked with definitely gets super excited about a project that at the end of it, the way it's worked is that nothing's changed at all. So good times there. All right. So Sitecore is committed to 3 different future dev experiences. These are things that have kind of been somewhat obvious if you've been paying attention, but it was really nice to hear that Sitecore has said we're going to be supporting these for at least the next 5 years, no matter where the platform goes, and no matter where the leading edge of development is for them. And that's custom.NET, which is what we're used to with MVC and Razor, SXA with the solution accelerator that they offer, and JSS, which has seen a lot of people talking about. And I think, last year at Symposium, I kind of made jokes, or after last year's Symposium, I made jokes that everyone's talking about JSS. I know that this year, following that same pattern of 1 year Sitecore says, hey, we're doing this thing. The next year they talk about, oh no, it's really for real now. And then the third year, people are actually doing it. I think we're in the third year on JSS. I know that I know there are a lot of people who are doing actual JSS projects. We've had a presentation here about the actual reality of that. I'm still not convinced that it's a great idea for everything except the number of edge cases, because I'm a curmudgeon when it comes to Sitecore development and web stuff, but people want to do it, and it's a thing that you're going to be able to do for a while. In addition to all of that stuff, speaking of development experience, they've released a bunch of additional documentation on helix.sitecore.net. I also just read today that they're going to be retiring the habitat name for that dev site or that example site, because it's just caused a lot of confusion between what's helix, what's habitat, because they weren't really clear about what that all meant when it first came out. But
it's not just the name, they're retiring the habitat site.
Yeah.
They have a brand new example that's actually built much more aligned with helix than habitat was.
Yep.
What's the name of that?
It's going to be helix something or other.
It will be like helix sample. They already have it in GitHub.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad that
That'll
it's
be
clear
helix.
what it is. It's not going to be like,
Helix home.
helix-y. And so all right, so coming later this year, Sitecore 9.3. Big thing that I'm excited about with it is that Sitecore Installation Assistant, the GUI that they put on top of the framework that they put on top of installing Sitecore, as opposed to the GUI that they had for installing Sitecore 3 years ago, that can now install Solar and various modules, which I think is a really big deal, because, one of the things that has made Sitecore development experiences miserable for new Sitecore developers has been having to deal with Solar, and now not having to worry about configuring a bunch of config files before you run the PowerShell script, and you can just say localhost, 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 and then next, and have that all up and running. Is going to be a big thing. I'm really excited about that. One of the other big things that came along are changes in SXA. That templates are now going to be using Scriven, because NVelocity has gone away, and so they've got with the times. They did a whole bunch of comparative research about what new templating language to use. They really liked Scriven because it was fast and performant. They actually, during the presentation when we were talking about this, they had a graph that showed Scriven is really fast. So that's really cool. There's also going to be a new dev experience around it, where essentially, instead of exporting the package that you would export of all the artifacts and then having front-end developers work on those and then re-importing them, they're now going to be managed through, I think they're going to be NPM packages, which should be really cool. One of the other things that's going to be great is that Horizon is now going to be in Sitecore 9.3. That's the reason for the Horizon paint drawing here. And lastly, there were a bunch of improvements to forms, which, I know it's so weird being in the post-web forms for marketers world, where everyone's not just instantly complaining about forms, but it sounds like they're going to have some good stuff coming in that too.
I figure most everybody in the room knows, but Horizon is the new user interface. It's going to replace both content editor and experience editor. It's kind of a best of both. It's something that they've been teasing for the last
2 years,
2.5
yeah.
years or so.
But it was on Horizon for us 2.5 years.
Yeah, well, last year was.
Last year was Horizon,
Yeah.
and then there was also Zenith, but we don't talk about that because
Yeah, that went away.
yeah.
I think they first announced Horizon and Zenith in 2017.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
at the end of Symposium in 2017.
they were like, and by the way,
Yeah.
we're gonna have Horizon and Zenith, and everyone was like, great, that's gonna be awesome. When's it gonna be out? 3 years. Like I said, stick, so it's just a pattern that exists.
Yeah.
But
the SXA changes, by the way, are big.
Yeah.
Actually, not only is the Scriven thing pretty cool, but it's going to simplify a lot of the SXA development.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever done like SXA, the way they tell you to do it, where you basically create an item for every HTML element in your HTML markup. You don't have to do that anymore. You actually basically say, this is the component, and this is its scriven template with a bunch of placeholder form fields and stuff, form fields, but it's an actual, no kidding, templating language, which should make your deployment of SXA components much easier.
Yeah.
So finally, I think SXA, like now, really is viable. I think a lot of people are going to take it up now.
Yeah.
That it's not so fussy as it used to be.
So what, 3 years now for S6A?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing the pattern.
Mhm.
You're right, Ed.
Which means that SAS, 3 years. Write it down.
3 years from now.
Put it in an envelope. It's actually gonna be 3 years from now.
So
Or
they
strike number
did
2.
already let us know that when SAS comes out, which is like next year, right? Summer?
Yeah,
Summer 2020.
Summer-ish.
they said summer. I don't know. Did they say what year?
Yes.
They said summer. It's going to be limited. There's limited use cases
Yeah.
that it's tailored for, which I think lends some support to Ed's contention that it might be a new code base, might be something a little bit different than what we've seen.
Yeah.
It actually will be a new code base, like it's stated like that on press release, Sitecore page.
Okay, so we can say that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I will be saying that like when my turn will come. But anyway.
All right, let's see. One of the other things that that Sitecore really talked about was that they want to continue to focus on commerce. I think they're aware of the market's reaction to Sitecore commerce, which has been, at least in my experience, yeah. And I think they realize that they're not going to be chasing every commerce scenario. That they really want to do ones where content is really important and the experiences are important, and not like, not hardware stores where it's like, hey, we've got thousands of SKUs, but it's because this one is a 3 or a quarter 20 by 1 inch bolt, and this one's a quarter 20 by inch and a quarter bolt.
What are you taking hardware stores to task?
Well, because I have tried searching for things at Lowe's US and have had different stuff.
That is not our
I
problem.
know that is not your problem. I know.
Hey.
How's it going?
I know all of the challenges that and appreciate the challenges of that. But anyway, that was one of the other things they really talked about, was that it was one of the big reasons for the Hedgehog acquisition was to gain experience in implementing commerce, because I think what they realized, again, this is all just my theories on this, but they realized that part of the problem with having uptake with commerce was that there was a reputation for it being difficult to implement, and that they kind of needed an understanding of what difficult to implement meant. And that I think that a lot of the Hedgehog acquisition was specifically to internalize that understanding. That I know I was very afraid that as soon as they bought a professional services firm, that what they were going to do was Ectron everybody and take over, and start selling professional services projects. They've been very, very clear, very forceful about it, because I think they know that that's a potential impression about it, that is not what they want to do, and that it's really just to be there and to have more robust support for partners in doing implementations. So that was an interesting takeaway from it, and I'm glad we were able to have those conversations with them. One of the other big things that's supposedly coming out next month, is automated personalization. They've made sure to tell us it is not a replacement for Sitecore Cortex, that I think it's actually something built on top of Sitecore Cortex as kind of like a tool set that you can kind of just hit the button and it does the work for you, as opposed to having to kind of feed it the way that you do with Cortex stuff. I know a lot of people were really excited about this. Until I see what it actually means and what it actually does, I don't know how excited I'm going to be about it, but it could be really cool.
Did they hint at anything that it would actually do? 'Cause
Yeah.
That means nothing to me.
So basically, and I have this in my slides as well, but basically you can set up, if you set up variants of content, it's going to A/B test your content and then pull up the,
So it just does it automatically versus you
Right.
doing it.
The
Right.
nicest thing about it, from what I heard, was that it instead of you having to explicitly set up the content test,
Yeah.
it's basically going to say, you've got variants that you've set up.
Yeah.
You've already done some personalization. I'm going to go ahead and gather the metrics for that personalization,
Okay.
find out whether it was effective or not.
So it's just gonna A/B test your personalization.
well,
Yeah,
it's gonna
okay.
it's gonna A/B test your content and then pick what, basically create clusters and give people the appropriate content that they engage with the most.
It sounds
Gotcha.
most like a convenience feature at this point, but a
Yeah.
useful one, because a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
customers.
I
Mhm.
can see people using
Oh
it.
yeah, no, because all that whole process is so fiddly.
So, yeah, you can do the same thing with Cortex today,
Mhm.
you just have to set it up, but this would just do it on its own. That's the only difference.
Yeah, and people like buttons to press to just have it do stuff for them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we employ robots after all. Also to wipe out humanity.
Eventually, not right now.
One of the other things that was talked about was kind of the evolution of the former Hedgehog tools. Sitecore has compiled them all. They're now calling it the Sitecore Developer Collection. It's still paid licenses, which I was sad to hear. But it includes TDS, Razzle, Phaedra. I think there was another thing, but
Altora or something?
yeah,
Something like that?
yeah, something.
The
else.
content, author tool or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember its name
I didn't hear about it till recently.
either.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I read a thing. I'm like, oh wait, that I haven't heard of that yet. All right, great. And if you happen to be an MVP, you can also get free licenses, which is kind of nice because that was a thing that wasn't the case before. So that's kind of cool. And there was a party at Universal Studios, which I think was the highlight of the event. This was the busiest place in the whole thing, which was absolutely incredible when you consider how like Universal Studios is usually just packed, and here you could just walk right on rides. So if you're contemplating going next year, I don't know what they're going to do as a party, but they've got a big feature.
That was the best part about Orlando, was that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
got roller coasters and
Yep.
theme parks and all
Yep.
sorts of cool stuff to do.
And that there were open bars literally you'd be at one and you'd look over and see the other one. So you could I definitely did not walk from bar to bar,
The other
like,
Universal.
Time my stroll through it so that it finished one drink by the time
So
it
it
was
was
the
like
next one.
Hogwarts Express actually connects to
Yeah, but it was closed, the Hogwarts Express was closed last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then after it, there was the MVP Summit. This was a really, really awesome event. It's worth putting in the effort to achieve the MVP credential for this. Like, I feel like you get a really good opportunity to just really get in and pick the central Sitecore brain. You get all sorts of interesting information. I feel like, a lot of it is a bummer. You can't really share it at events like this, but it does help kind of color your thinking for the rest of the year and get a sense of what's going on.
Where did they take you to, can you say?
Oh, I could tell you where they took us to.
Okay.
And okay. So this is frustrated Ed moment. So last year, or like in the past, they did all sorts of cool like events afterwards, right? That it was like the party was like, oh, we're gonna go to a go-kart track and just go race go-karts all night, right? Awesome. Last year they did like I think
Avatar.
the Avatar thing. This year you got to go to the NBA experience at Disney Springs. Do you know what the NBA experience is? The lowest rated thing in Orlando on TripAdvisor.
You get to learn to play basketball though.
I don't even think you get to learn to play basketball. I think you just get to go see like basketball stuff. Like it's like, oh hey, look, here's a cutout of Magic Johnson. But if you were at Symposium, you saw the real one. So I don't know. But the one that I actually could have finally gotten to was that. So I spent the night around that. So.
So they did teach you. Okay, you didn't go.
Oh, did they? Did they?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So yeah, you did get to learn to play basketball, but.
Yeah, that's my shooting stuff.
But yeah, so there was the dunk competition, right? And I looked at the scores, and most people had 20 something. I had an 8.
One of the cool things about the MVP summit was that there are some things that you can share like this. This is how they view their future headless development experience. That basically you're going to have your code base, you're going to serialize all of your stuff, and then you're going to push it up into the Sitecore instance, and then it's going to go out to the world. That's kind of, it was explained a lot better than that during the thing, but there were some things we could talk about. I wanted to thank everyone here who were the guinea pigs for my presentation that I gave this year on behavioral-based personalization. The room did actually fill up a little bit more. There were actually 6 people.
We ran so many, like the one that Walter and John Fairchild and I did, we counted, was it 12 at the same time or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, it was actually 28,
Oh,
proudly.
Oh,
Yeah.
20.
But I
That's
opened with a joke and I said, well, I just want to say thank you so much because with other 38 sessions at the same time, you picked this one.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, like we feel honored.
All right, so this was actually like 15 minutes before it started, and I was really pleasantly surprised when the minder lady came in and told everyone to move down because it was going to be a full session. I was actually really thrilled about that, but I wanted to make the joke. So thank you everyone for being my guinea pigs on that. And then the big exciting news is next year it's going to be in Chicago, end of October in Chicago. So bring a coat. It's going to be cold. It's a month after I feel like the safe Chicago cutoff is. But if it's anything like this event or like past symposiums, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time outside, except for the past 2 years where you had to spend half an hour walking between hotels.
You always like.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Like I definitely have chosen what sessions I'm going to go to based on where I am.
Yeah.
If it's like, oh, the next session is all the way over there, and then it's lunch. Yeah, I'm not going over there.